Slow cookers can be a total lifesaver when you're trying to get dinner on the table during a hectic week. Few things beat coming home after a long day to the delicious aroma of a meal that's been cooking for hours. Still, despite how convenient slow cookers are, they aren't suitable for every ingredient or recipe. Here's a look at some foods you should avoid making in a slow cooker. Chef and culinary producer Claire Langan explains that slow cookers are excellent at braising or cooking things like tough cuts of meat. Problems arise a lot when home cooks put quick cooking proteins in the slow cooker. Fish and white meat poultry come to mind. Using lean proteins in a slow cooker misses the point. You are much better pan-searing or oven roasting and cooking until just done. The reason is that fish and boneless chicken contain so little fat that hours in a slow cooker can leave them dry, firm, and overcooked. Bacon can suffer a similar fate. If you want to include any of these ingredients in a slow-cooked dish, it's better to prepare them separately and stir or layer them in near the end. And unfortunately, they're far from the only foods that don't belong in a slow cooker. Cheese is another ingredient that's best added to the slow cooker only once the cooking is nearly finished. Food blogger Karen Phelps explains, cooking cheese for too long at a slow temperature breaks down the whey and causes the cheese to lump. So what you end up with is a big oily mess. Stirring the cheese in once the cooking process is done and leaving in for about 10 minutes to melt properly is the way to go. If you're treating yourself to an expensive steak for your anniversary, the slow cooker should stay far away from it. Slow cookers are much better suited to inexpensive, tougher cuts because the long cooking time helps break down the connective tissue and make them tender. A high-quality steak is already naturally tender, so putting it through hours of slow cooking is unnecessary. Save that appliance for an easy weeknight dinner and make date night count by giving both your steak and your significant other the attention they deserve. Pasta may seem almost foolproof to make, but getting that ideal texture takes some precision. Properly cooked pasta requires well-salted water and careful attention to the cooking time. A slow cooker, however, offers very little control over either, making mushy, overcooked pasta almost inevitable. Since pasta cooks quickly and contains plenty of starch, leaving it simmering in a slow cooker for hours can turn it into a thick, sticky mass that's barely recognizable. Sounds appetizing, right? A slow cooker isn't ideal for making rice because getting the grains to cook at the same rate can be tricky. More often than not, the rice around the edges ends up overdone, leaving it firm and dry, while the grains toward the middle remain frustratingly undercooked. According to Better Homes and Gardens, wild rice is a better choice for slow cooker recipes because its tougher texture makes it more capable of handling the longer cooking process. When you prepare a wine-based sauce on the stove, much of the alcohol can cook off as the liquid simmers in an open pan. A slow cooker is a different story. Because the alcohol is largely trapped inside the covered appliance, it doesn't evaporate as easily. Instead, too much alcohol can remain in the dish, leaving behind a harsh, bitter flavor that can overwhelm everything else. In this case, you're better off keeping the wine where it belongs, in your glass. Kidney beans and certain other dried beans contain a naturally occurring toxin that is destroyed when the beans are boiled properly. The problem is that a slow cooker may never reach the vigorous boiling temperature needed to eliminate it, potentially leaving you with unsafe beans. The University of Minnesota recommends soaking the beans in water for about 12 hours, then boiling them for 10 minutes before transferring them to the slow cooker. That extra step can help ensure your legendary chili remains famous for its flavor, rather than becoming infamous for making someone seriously ill.